Basically what we're doing here tonight is we're having a senatorial debate. We try to create awareness in the community by allowing the candidates to speak on different issues. What's very unique about this particular debate is that we're actually going to have live audience participation, and we're also going to be answering questions live from our webpage, tbipac.com. We're going to also have it live broadcast over the radio, so it's going to be very unique in itself. We feel that by doing these debates, we're not only creating awareness on these candidates, but it also allows people to have an ability to see, hear, and feel the candidates and know what their opinions and views are.
We thought it was a good idea because it's not something that's been done, before the tribe starting this in this area, and I think it's good for the people of Voyles Parish to know, to get to know the candidates before going to the polls on election day, so they'll know what they're all about and what their stand is on different issues.
If I was a candidate, I would think that a function like this would be a great tool, because not only do I get to get a captured audience, but you also get to get a sampling of what the community is feeling. There may be issues that you're not aware of that affect the community, and there are also issues out there that some people want you to know that it's something that's very important to them, whether it's dealing with the environment, education, it might deal with taxation issues, it might deal with something in your own backyard. So if I were a candidate, I would think this would be a great forum to be able to hear the people and feel the pulse of the community.
It's a privilege that we all have to take part in the elections, to vote for the people that we want to represent us at the state and national level. And it's important that we know as much as we can about the candidates and what their platform is.
Welcome to the senatorial debate hosted by the Tunica Biloxi Tribe of Louisiana, the Tunica Biloxi Political Action Committee, and Paragon Casino Resort. We'd like to have you take your seats as we're being broadcast live by KAPB radio station. We'd like to thank KAPB and all the other members of the media who are with us this evening. We certainly appreciate their support and their commitment to allowing the voters of this senatorial district to learn more about the candidates for this important seat in the Louisiana legislature. I'd like to introduce Ms. Rochella Malvo. Rochella is a member of our public relations team. She will now introduce the members of our distinguished panel. Rochella.
Good afternoon, everyone. Our first panelist is Tunica Biloxi Tribal Chairman Earl Barbary Sr. Chairman Barbary was elected Tribal Chairman in 1978 and was appointed as Tribal Administrator that same year. Under his leadership, he brought the Tunica Biloxi Tribe to a point of federal recognition in September of 1981. Chairman Barbary has served longer than any other elected chairman in the United States. In 2006, he was recognized by Louisiana Public Broadcasting as a Louisiana legend. He is married to Gail Barbary and has 2 children, Joey and Errol Jr., and 2 granddaughters, Alexis and Annabelle. Our next panelist is Marshall Parite, Vice Chairman of the Tunica Biloxi Tribe. After graduating from Moorville High School in 1980, Mr. Parite enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps. Mr. Parite's military achievements include boot camp, basic training, administrative school. In 1983, he was assigned to the 1st Marine Brigade as Administrative Chief. In 1985, Mr. Parite was honorably discharged from the U.S. Marine Corps and received his 2nd Good Conduct Medal. He is employed by the Tunica Biloxi Tribe as the Social Services Director and serves as the Chairman of the Tribe's Youth Activities Committee. Mr. Parite also serves as the Tribe's Delegate to the United South and Eastern Tribes Social Services Committee. Our third panelist is Babs Zimmerman. Babs is the news director of KLAX-TV, a post she has held since December, when she agreed to restart the news department at ABC 31 News after a hiatus of several years. She formerly worked at another news station in Alexandria, as well as Monroe and Lake Charles. Previously, she was the newspaper's Louisiana and Capitol Bureau Chief for the Beaumont, Texas Enterprise. She also worked for Shreveport Times and Associated Press, all at the state capitol. Most of her work has been in politics and government. She's a native of Louisiana from Union Parish in North Louisiana, an LSU graduate, and she was a recipient of the Fulbright Grant in 1972 at the National Library in Belgium. She and her husband and many animals have lived in Alexandria since 1981. These are our panelists.
Let's hear a round of applause for these wonderful panel members. I'd like to now continue by introducing our candidates for the Senate seat. Candidate number 1 is Representative Eric LaFleur. Eric LaFleur is a partner in the law firm of Matouk and LaFleur. He is a graduate of LSU and Tulane, earning a BA in French, economics, and history. He earned his law degree from Tulane Law School. LaFleur was elected to an open seat in the Louisiana House of Representatives in 1999. He was re-elected in 2003 by a large majority of votes. In 2005, his fellow members elected Representative LaFleur as chairman of the House Democratic Caucus. He serves on the following legislative committees: Appropriations, Criminal Justice, Agriculture, and Joint Budget Committee. LaFleur is also a member of the House Legislative Council. Before entering private practice, he served as a felony prosecutor under District Attorney Harry Connick in New Orleans and for the Louisiana Department of Justice under former Attorney General Richard Ayoub. Representative Eric LaFleur. Candidate number 2 is Donald Newton. Newton has worked in the state Senate under the guidance of his grandfather, Senator Don Hines. He worked in human resources and accounting and on the Senate floor for the past 6 years. A resident of Marksville, Donald is the son of Jordan and Donna Newton of Bunkie. His father is a third-generation farmer. His mother, Donna Hines Newton, is the director of the Health Enrichment Network in Allen Parish. His grandparents are Marvin and Margaret Newton of Bunkie and Don and Jackie Hines of Bunkie. Donald is a graduate of Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge. He is the assistant manager of an oil company in Marksville. Mr. Newton is an avid hunter and fisherman. He is a member of the Voiles Wildlife Federation and a charter member of the newly formed Spring Bayou Restoration Team. Candidate Donald Newton. Candidate number 3 is Sheriff Bill Belt. Belt is a resident of Marksville. He is a lifelong resident of Avoyelles Parish. Sheriff Belt assumed the office of sheriff in 1980. He has been serving Avoyelles Parish in that elective position for the past 27 years. Bill attended Louisiana State University and the University of Louisiana in Lafayette. He also attended the Louisiana Police Academy. He presently serves as the chairman of the Avoyelles Parish Airport Authority. Sheriff Belt's professional and civic affiliations are with the Louisiana Sheriff's Association, the Louisiana State Police Academy, the Marksville Lions Club, the Masonic Lodge, the Rotary Club of Avoyelles, and the Louisiana Jaycees. He was the recipient of the Outstanding Young Law Enforcement Officer of the Year Award and was the Avoyellenian of the Year Award recipient. Belt's hobbies are traveling, fishing, hunting, and horseback riding. Candidate Sheriff Bill Belt. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce the director of the Tunica-Biloxi Political Action Committee, David Rivas.
I would like to thank our candidates and distinguished panel for being part of our senatorial debate in our TBI PAC Government to Government series. Today we will lead and feed by example. We will continue a tradition that will distinguish our political functions by creating a unique partnership with the Cenla Food Bank. I would like to recognize Ms. Jane Wright of the Cenla Food Bank and commend their organization on all their hard work and efforts in the Cenla community. Thank you. Let us now begin the 2007 Senate debate. Each candidate will respond to 2 questions from each panelist. The candidate will be given 3 minutes to answer each question. A timekeeper will monitor the time and signal the candidate if he has gone beyond the allotted time. We now have candidate Eric LaFleur. He will answer the first question from Chairman Earl J. Barbary, Sr.
Mr. LaFleur, why do you want to be the next senator of District 28, and why do you what do you feel qualifies you to adequately represent this district?
Mr. Chairman, I think the reason why anybody should want to run for office is that he wants to make things better for his family and his community. In the same way that my parents wanted to make my life better, they provided the best loving household that they could. I'm going to do the same thing in my household. I think that's the same reason why somebody would run for state senator. They want to provide the resources to make their community a better place to live. And that's what I've tried to do as a state representative in my district for the last 8 years, and that's what I intend to do, or try to do, as a state senator for District 28. As far as my qualifications go, I mean, you have to have the energy, you have to have the will, you've got to have great organizational skills, you've got to be a good salesman. The same types of things that make you a success in business makes you a success in public service. You've got to be responsive, you've got to return phone calls, you have to follow up. That's what I do in my business, and that's what I do as a public servant, and I think that's why, at least I believe that we've been successful we've been successful as a representative.
Thank you. Candidate Don Newton will now answer the question.
Thank you, Chairman. The reason I feel I'm qualified for the job, number one, is I'm a people person. I will always have an open door policy, and I'm here to help you. That's what my job would be as a public servant. Now, what I feel qualifies me to be your next senator, number one, and most importantly, I've worked in the state capitol, in the state senate, under the guidance of Doc Hines for the past 6 years. I know the processes, the people, and basically everything about that chamber in my sleep. That's what I feel qualifies me to be your next state senator, is that I'm a people person, I want to hear you, I want to hear your issues, and I want to try and help you, but also I do have the work experience to back it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bill Belt will now answer the question.
Thank you very much. The reason I want to be the state senator is that I've served 28 years as your sheriff. On July the 1st, it'll be 28 years. You've elected me 7 consecutive terms. I've been on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for all that time. We've put together numerous projects. When I came here, there was no ambulance service. We'd load people up in police cars. There was no 911 center. Volunteer fire departments had a hard time, and we've helped them. We didn't have a prison system. We only had 36 beds, and we've expanded it to 1,200. We have one of the largest in-house work release programs in the state to help the local businesses and the economy. I want to be the senator because I think I can make a difference. I know I can make a difference. I have a reputation to get things done. If I get to Baton Rouge, I want to get things done. I want to bring the resources back to this parish. I want to make sure that this parish and the other parishes are well represented. I want to create jobs. I want tax incentives, less regulation. I want to improve education, and I know it's a lot on your plate. But those are the things I want to do, and I'm going to work tirelessly to do that for this district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Chairman Barbary will now ask the second question to candidate Don Newton.
Mr. Newton, as a freshman senator replacing a former senator with many years of representation, do you feel that you can be effective enough in that position to the point that our district would not suffer due to the loss of that seniority?
Mr. Chairman, as I stated in the first answer, I don't feel that we're going to lose a lot. I know we're going to lose 15 years of experience, but I have that experience also for 6 years working there. Secondly, the probably most peculiar situation is for those 15 years, Doc Hines has had a legislative assistant, Mary DeVilliers. She knows basically everyone in this district, from from Krotz Springs to Kinder, from Orneville up to Marksville. She has a great pulse for this district and a great idea of some past projects that have been done that she will stay on as my legislative assistant. It will bring expertise to the job, and it will bring past experience to the job to help me to mesh that with my new ideas, my fresh ideas, and how I want to move District 28 forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bill Belt will now answer the question.
As a freshman senator replacing a former senator with many years of representation, do you feel that you can be effective enough in that position to the point that our district will not suffer from that loss of seniority?
Mr. Chairman, with 28 years as a sheriff and 28 years being in Baton Rouge, lobbying representatives and senators, drafting legislation that would be good for this parish, including legislation that would let us buy property, I'm talking about the sheriff's office, owning property, incurring long-term debt, working on a comprehensive health care package for the Sheriff's Association that allows us to have a stop-loss and a stop-loss aggregate, allowing us to make sure that our employees own this product, own this package. I think that all of these things will help me not only be a freshman senator, I think I would go and start the job running. And I'm looking forward to going to Baton Rouge, to getting some of these projects done. It's very important to the district. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Eric LaFleur will now answer the question.
Yeah, we've been fortunate in District 28 to have somebody like Senator Don Hines. I know that because I've worked with him for the last 8 years. He's a fighter, he's an organizer, and he's a great salesman for this district. We've all benefited from that service, and all 4 parishes. We will have a loss, there will be a hole, there will be a little bit of a vacuum, because he brought with him experience as a school board member, experience as a physician, obviously, and then his years in service at the legislature. I believe that I'm uniquely qualified, unlike all of the candidates, in that I've actually served there for 8 years, and experience is going to make a big difference in Baton Rouge, because if you look at the senators who are currently there and the ones who are about to get elected, almost all of them have prior legislative experience. I've served on the Appropriations Committee. I was the first freshman. I was only one of, there was only 2 freshmen selected to serve on that committee, which is the Budget Committee, which is probably the most complicated thing that we deal with in Baton Rouge. I served on it for 7 years, and it probably took me 3 to figure out what was going on. I'm going to be able to bring that type of knowledge to the legislative body on the Senate side that I think will make me an effective, positive voice for District 28, because I will understand the process and be able to make things happen immediately.
We will now have candidate Bill Belt answer the first question from Vice Chairman Marshall Preet.
Sheriff Belt, if elected, what plans do you have that would propose as state senator to bring economic development to this area?
Thank you, Marshall. My plans are very similar to what we did in the Sheriff's Office. We plan on making sure that we have a proper educational system, especially VOTEC, so that we can train people in the trades that need to be done. We need tax incentives and tax breaks, but we don't need to forget our small businesses that employ 2 or 3 people and want to hire an extra person. We need to make sure that they're taken care of. And we need less regulation. Regulation just kills you. And if you can do that, and if we can reform some of the insurance laws so that we can bring our premiums down, because these are taxes on our people. More employment means more prosperity and more taxes for the state and the parish, and better economic activity. Those are my plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Eric LaFleur will now answer the question.
In order to expand the economy in Louisiana, we obviously have to continue in the same path that we have been going in education, because that's one of the first things that a business looks for when they come. They're looking for trained people. They're looking for people that will be reliable and people that will show up and do the job and make the job right. One of the things that we have in rural Louisiana, and I think Senator Hines would agree with me, is that we are constantly competing across the state for those economic development projects. And one of the biggest problems that we face in rural District 28, which includes all 4 very rural parishes, is that sometimes we get outbid by the larger towns. Well, we have to be able to sell the program, and we have to be able to convince the economic department in Louisiana and those businesses that are coming here that the people of Avoyelles and the people of Evangeline and all these other parishes, they work just as hard, that we're prepared to provide them with the infrastructure that it would take to get them over here, and that we're just as important as Lafayette or New Orleans or Baton Rouge. If you look at the average family income in District 28, it is the lowest in Louisiana. So to me, it seems like the Department of Economic Development in Louisiana should make it even a higher priority to make lives better in those areas where we don't have the type of economies that they have in other areas of the state. We deserve that just as much as anybody else in Louisiana, whether it's rural or urban. It just doesn't make a difference. We should have the same rights to attract those businesses to come here.
Thank you. Candidate Donald Newton will now answer the question.
You know, what's really going to bring economic development to this area is, number one, fixing Spring Bayou. It will bring sportsmen to this area who can come, they can play golf here, they can watch movies here, they can go right down there, fish, hunt. It's the number one thing in this parish that we need to fix, is fixing Spring Bayou. I think we are on the right track to doing it. The state just okayed 9,000 carp to go in it. And I believe that puts us back on the right track to attract people here. But also looking on a broader scale, if we really want to attract economic development and bring businesses here, why not, when there's a new business, why not give them a 3 to 5 year deferment on their property tax? Let's help small businesses here. Let's help them get their legs underneath them instead of levying taxes on top of them time after time after time. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Marshall Preet will now ask the second question to candidate Eric LaFleur.
Representative LaFleur, if elected, what plans do you have to pursue and implement the completion of the Zachary Taylor Parkway project?
Okay. This past year, the state probably made the largest single investment in its history in roads. It was the first time that we had ever been able to put those kind of resources on building roads. If there's anything that you expect, or at least that I expect as a taxpayer, there's some basic services that we expect. We expect to be able to drive on nice roads. We will finally see that day come in Louisiana. Next year we have another surplus coming up, and we're going to have another opportunity to make that same sizable investment in Louisiana's roads. We just need to make sure that, again, the other cities in the state don't circumvent our opportunity to make that highway a possibility. I had a bill this past year that would have probably provided $400 or $500 million a year over time, which would have taken sales tax from the sale of vehicles, take those tax revenues and dedicate them to roads exclusively. We tried to do that and wanted to do that over a couple of years. It failed, but I think there'll be that measure or some other similar measure that'll come up. The people of Louisiana that pay taxes don't mind paying taxes if they know that their tax money is going to things that are important to them in their lives. Aside from education and all the other things that we need, we do need basic roads. Thanks.
Thank you. Candidate Donald Newton will now answer the question.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a $14 billion backlog on payments for our roads right now. We're severely in the hole with trying to cover everything. I am 100% for four-laning from Alexandria to New Roads or wherever it's going to lead to, just as long as it 4 lanes right through here in central Louisiana and Marksville. This year we put $400 million towards roads through the TIME program and also added an additional $600 million. My first bill I will introduce will be to add $1 billion towards our road system every year until we catch up with this $14 billion backlog. And when that happens, it won't take all the lip service that we've heard forever. We can say we need this, and it will be done because the funds will be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bill Belt will now answer the question.
Thank you very much. It's very important that we concentrate on roads because roads get us to school, roads get us to market, and roads get us to work. Zachary Taylor should be a priority, but let me give you some statistics. 47% of the roads in Louisiana are subpar. Now, in Evangeline, Avoyelles, St. Landry, and Allen, I would venture to say that 60% of the roads are subpar. I don't think we should forget that we represent this district. We need to make sure that the roads are well taken care of, well maintained, and overlaid properly so that we can get to work, we can get to school, and we can attract industry. I'm wholeheartedly for working very hard to bring as many tax dollars to this district as possible. Thank you very much.
We will now have candidate Donald Newton answer the first question from Mrs. Bab Zimmerman.
Okay, this will be to Sheriff Belt, is that right? Oh, to you, Mr. Newton. Okay, I have my name's written down wrong. What is your position on abortion? Would you vote for a criminal penalty for a woman who chooses to terminate her pregnancy? And if so, how many years in prison?
Let me just start off by saying I am a pro-life Democrat. I am completely against abortion and any types of abortion. Now, on what type of penalty I would levy against a woman, I'm going to leave that up to the DA or the Attorney General to hand down the sentence. I'm not qualified to do that, but I can tell you this. I'm against any type of abortion. I've been supported by the Louisiana Family Forum, even on my work from stem cell research, which in turn does deal with that. But I just want to repeat again, I am pro-life. I discourage any abortions. I'm for health clinics that teach our young women, or any women actually, why life is good. You know, 15 months ago, I had my first son. It's been the best thing that's ever happened to my life. It's an inspiration to me, and I wish he was here tonight so I could be fussing at him or whatever he'd be doing right there. But it's just he's just brought a new meaning to life for me, and I wish everyone could experience what I have, and that's why wholeheartedly I'm against abortions. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Bill Belt will now answer the question.
Thank you very much. I'm a pro-life Democrat with 3 beautiful baby daughters and one that's 3 years old. And just in the recent years, I've had the opportunity to help a really good friend of mine who is a district judge adopt 2 beautiful children. I beg to differ with Mr. Newton, but I don't think we should leave it up to the DAs and the Attorney Generals of the state of Louisiana to dictate penalties. It's the legislature's responsibility to write guidance. Do we want to discourage young women from entering into adoption contracts? Does the legislature want to create penalties? I don't know. I personally don't think so. I think we should encourage adoption. We don't want to set up rogue clinics. And we sure don't want our kids to go out of state because they don't want to tell mom and dad. If they make a mistake, we need to encourage adoption. And that's what I would like to do. And I would like to be very instrumental in the legislature to write that legislation that would help these young women to help other people have children. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Eric LaFleur will now answer the question.
I'm also a pro-life candidate. Unfortunately, we cannot make it a criminal violation because it's a constitutional right currently that the Supreme Court grants to women. And until the Supreme Court changes that, we're kind of just stuck where we are right now. We have passed several laws in Louisiana to make it extremely difficult for someone to have an abortion. And so we've supported those measures, but currently we can't make it a crime. So that's kind of the bind that we find ourselves in. One way to prevent abortions was not only to encourage adoption, but is also to discourage pregnancy until the time is right to have a child. And that comes with abstinence and education and learning how not to become pregnant. I think that's probably one of the main things that we can try to promote, is to teach young people that there's a time and a place for all that to happen. And when it happens, it's great. And so I think that's one way to avoid it.
Thank you. Ms. Babs Zimmerman will now ask the second question to candidate Bill Belt.
Name the political action committees from which you are taking campaign contributions.
Thank you, Babs. That's a really good question. Right now, I haven't collected too much money, so I haven't collected any from any PACs, but I would welcome any PACs that want to donate to Bill Belt's campaign. And, of course, what you get is good government. You get the answers to the questions that I gave you. Special interests are fine. Everybody has a special interest, but our interest should be to the children, to the people of Louisiana, to education, to roads, to getting jobs, to a better life. That's what our goal should be in Louisiana. And again, Bill Belt campaign, you can send me your money with the PACs, and I'll be happy to take it. Thank you, Bab.
Thank you. Candidate Eric LaFleur will now answer the question.
I'd be more than happy to have a donation from the Tunica Biloxi Indian Political Action Committee. I haven't said that I wouldn't take donations from PACs. I really couldn't tell you which PACs made contributions. I don't think they've really gotten together yet and made those donations, but I'm going to accept them, I guess, if there's some of them are offered to me.
Thank you. Candidate Don Newton will now answer the question.
You know, I'm the same way. I can't tell you if I've received money from PACs yet, but just one point to go with that. My vote will never be for sale, and I think that's the bottom line. People get nervous when they hear the term PAC, but I will gladly take money from a PAC. I just want to let all of my constituents know my vote is not for sale. Thank you.
Now it gets interesting. The candidates will have an opportunity to challenge each other. In this round, any candidate may ask one question of a particular candidate, and the candidate may have 1 minute to respond to the question. There will be no rebuttals, only the candidate answering the question. Candidate Eric LaFleur will now ask his question.
When it relates to sex offenses and sexual predators, what do you think is the most important thing that we can do to prevent that type of crime in our district and in Louisiana?
He has to direct.
I can pose it to anyone?
Yes.
Okay, I'll pose it to the sheriff.
Sheriff, come on.
Sexual predators are one of the worst types of crimes they have. In the penal system, on a status level, they're down at the bottom. We need to make sure that whoever we have in the neighborhood that has been convicted and is a sexual predator is on a list and is monitored by the proper law enforcement authorities. And when I say proper, that means all of them. And if we would like to elicit the help of the people of the parish or the district, wherever they may be, to let us know on a hotline if these people are out of line. This is a very terrible crime. As far as I'm concerned, it's one of the worst crimes that can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Candidate Donald Newton will now ask his question.
My question's to Representative LaFleur. Representative, I'm sure as you know, I grew up on a farm. My dad's here. I worked for him and my uncle, and there's a lot of farmers in Bunkie, and it's just a very rural area here. And I can tell you from experience, the job is, I guess, hard enough and taxing enough before the government levies multiple taxes. I guess I would say on top of farmers.